She had never seen a sunrise, never heard laughter, never even experienced words in the way we do. Helen Keller was born into a world of total silence and darkness. For years, her mind was a maze of confusion. She could feel, touch, and move, but there was no bridge connecting her inner world to the outer one. She had no concept of what words were, no language to process thoughts, just raw experience, undefined, unshaped. One day, her teacher, Anne Sullivan, placed Keller's hand under a cool stream of water and repeatedly spelled water into her palm. At first, it was just a series of meaningless motions, but then something clicked. Suddenly, Keller realized something incredible. The movements her teacher was making weren't random. They meant something. For the first time, she understood that everything in her experience had a name, a form, a meaning. That single moment shattered the barriers in her mind. She later wrote, "That living word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, joy, set it free." But here's what's truly fascinating. Before that moment, Helen was still aware. She could feel existence. She was there, even without words, even without definitions. The question arises, if you had no words, no labels, no thoughts, would you still exist? What is left of you when thought is gone? Most people assume that their thoughts define who they are. But Helen's experience suggests something deeper. Before she had words, before she understood concepts, she was still fully present, fully alive. Which brings us to the heart of this video. Who are you before thought? You've probably never even questioned it. Every single day, your mind generates thousands of thoughts. It labels, categorizes, and analyzes everything. And just like Keller before her breakthrough, most people never even realize it's happening. They're trapped inside a constant stream of mental noise, never stepping back to ask, who is observing all of this? Because here's the thing, your thoughts appear, but who notices them? Your emotions rise and fall, but who feels them? Your entire identity, your sense of self, is made up of stories, labels, and memories, but who is aware of them? And if all of those thoughts disappeared, wouldn't you still be here? Children come into this world with no labels, no fixed identity, and no concepts of self or other. They don't think of themselves as separate from the world around them because they haven't yet been taught to. Watch a child interact with their surroundings. A baby doesn't know that a tree is called a tree, or that their own hand is something separate from the air around them. They don't categorize experiences as good or bad. They simply exist, immersed in raw experience. Before a child learns language, their perception of the world is pure. Everything is just happening, without the need to name it. They don't think, I am looking at a sunset. They simply witness colors and light without adding a story to it. But then, something happens. Just like Helen Keller's moment of realization, a child is taught words. They're told, this is your name, this is your body, this is right, this is wrong. Slowly, they start to believe that they are something separate from the world. Language becomes their prison. The moment a child learns I, the separation begins. They go from experiencing life as a seamless flow to believing they are an individual, cut off from everything else. They start defining themselves based on what they are told. You are this. You are not that. You are good at this. You are bad at that. You should be like this. You should not be like that. And just like that, the illusion of self is formed. But here's the thing. This separation isn't real. It's just a layer of thought placed over raw experience. This is why so many people long for the past. They don't miss childhood itself. They miss the state of being they had before thoughts, labels, and identities took over. They miss the effortless presence of simply existing without questioning, judging, or analyzing. So what happens when we stop identifying with our thoughts? What if, just for a moment, we dropped every label we've ever been given? Would we return to that same state of presence? Because beneath all of it, the names, the roles, the beliefs, there is something deeper. Something that has been there since the beginning. Something that was there before language. And if we can find our way back to it, even for a moment, we might just realize that we were never separate to begin with. Donald Hoffman, a cognitive scientist, argues that what we see is not reality itself, but a carefully constructed interface. Imagine your phone screen. It doesn't show you the raw electrical signals inside the device, just a simple interface designed to help you navigate it. According to Hoffman, our perception of the world works the same way. Your brain isn't showing you reality. It's showing you a version of it that helps you survive. But here's the problem. If your perception is just a filtered projection, then how can you ever be sure who you really are? If everything you know about yourself is based on this interface, what's underneath it? Nikos Kazantzakis, a philosopher and writer, once described freedom as the process of letting go of self-identity. He believed that every time we cling to a specific idea of who we are actually limiting ourselves. People go their entire lives defining themselves based on past experiences, expectations, or labels given to them by society. But what if all of that is just another layer of illusion? If you strip away every label, your name, your past, your beliefs, what remains? What would it feel like to exist without constantly reinforcing an identity? The Greek philosopher Parmenides believed that language itself is what creates the illusion of separation. The moment we name something, we divide it from everything else. He argued that reality is not a collection of separate things, but a single unified whole. But because we use language, we are constantly drawing invisible boundaries. This is me, that is you, this is good, that is bad. But in truth, these divisions are just constructs of the mind. What happens if we stop taking language so seriously? What if we look beyond words and simply experience what is? Gurdjieff, a mystic and philosopher, taught a method called self-remembering. He believed that most people are sleepwalking through life, lost in thoughts, constantly reacting, never truly present. His practice was simple but radical. Become aware of yourself in this very moment. Not your thoughts, not your emotions, just the raw experience of being here. Notice yourself sitting, breathing, watching. Who is aware of this moment? And if you stay with that awareness, even for a few seconds, something strange happens. The mind quiets, and suddenly, you are no longer trapped in its endless commentary. You become the observer rather than the one caught in the illusion. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were obsessed with one thing: being in the flow state. In their peak performances, they weren't thinking, they were simply doing. Every movement, every decision happened effortlessly. Because thinking too much gets in the way. When the mind interferes, it slows you down. The same principle applies to daily life. The more we overanalyze, the more we hesitate. The more we identify with every passing thought, the more we struggle. But when we step back, stop clinging to every idea, and let awareness take over, we move through life with ease. If you couldn't think for the next 5 minutes, would you still exist? If thoughts stopped completely, would you disappear? This is a thought experiment many spiritual traditions have used for centuries. The answer is obvious. You would still be here, because you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. And once you realize that, everything changes. Everything you think you are, your beliefs, your memories, your identity, is built on shifting sand. Donald Hoffman showed us that our perception is just an interface, not reality. Nikos Kazantzakis warned us that clinging to identity is a prison. Parmenides argued that language itself traps us in illusion. And Gurdjieff? He told us that most of us are asleep, so lost in thought that we've forgotten how to simply be. But here's what matters. You are not your thoughts. You are not the endless commentary running in your mind. You are the awareness beneath it all. And when you finally see that, Life changes. You move through the world with less resistance, less grasping, less effort. Like Jordan and Kobe in the flow state, you stop over-analyzing and start living. So the question is, can you step back and just observe? Can you stop identifying with every thought and see them for what they are? If you can, then maybe for the first time you'll experience what it means to truly wake up.